If you're an off-road enthusiast craving trail-tested performance, 2025 delivers two serious contenders worth your attention. First of all, we do have the Ram 1500 RHO, and secondly, we have the Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro. Now, I know what you're thinking. These are two completely different trucks in two completely different price levels, but the fact is they actually come just within $2,000 of each other. Specifically this one that I tested this week of the TRD Pro coming in at over $67,000, while the RHO starts at $69,000. So in my opinion, this is a valid comparison. Now both of them are purpose-built to tackle terrain, dominate dunes, and crawl rocks while still offering modern tech wrapped in a rugged exterior design. So the 2025 Ram 1500 RHO is of course Ram's answer to the high-performance off-road segment, replacing the outgoing legendary by now TRX with a lighter, more agile platform powered by a twin-turbo Hurricane inline-6 engine, so no more V8. However, the RHO still pumps out over 540 horsepower, giving it a serious desert running capabilities. It rides on a reinforced frame, has active Bilstein Blackhawk E2 shocks, and of course you got the 35-inch tires as standard, ensuring high-speed off-road stability and solid articulation for slower, more challenging trails as well. On the other hand, the 2025 Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro is a mid-size warrior that brings Toyota's legendary off-road reliability and engineering into a new package. Now for 2025, it features a hybrid iForce Max powertrain delivering 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. That is 200 pound-feet more than the previous generation. It's paired with Fox QS 3 shocks, a front sway bar disconnect, and of course a lighter platform. With its smaller footprint compared to the RHO and the lower weight, the TRD Pro is more nimble in tight technical trails. Plus, it comes with a trail-focused tech like the multi-terrain monitor and the crawl control, which makes it a breeze for less experienced drivers to find their confidence off the beaten path. And of course the size is going to help here as well. It's a lot smaller than the Ram RHO. So the question is, which one would I personally buy? So let's jump in and have a closer look at these two trucks. Here we have the two beauties. Up top we have the Ram RHO. What a beast of a machine this is. Even though it still don't have the V8 still, I still think it just looks absolutely fantastic. And so does the TRD Pro down here. But when it comes to the pricing, when I think about the price point of this, that they're just $2,000 apart, the choice for me becomes pretty obvious, if I'm honest. And if you watched my videos before, you probably know which truck I'm going to buy. I would buy between these two if I was in the market for one of these. So starting with the TRX, I mean, not the TRX, obviously, even though it just fooled me right now. But this is, of course, the RHO. What I love about this design is it has the old TRX styling, as you can see. Clear, proper Ram design. We still have the 88 inches wider than 88 inches, meaning that we need to have the position lights up here inside of this hood scoop that you can see. When you're sitting here and driving, you can see this hood scoop in front of you, just adding some muscle vibe to this design. I love to see that. And what I love about the front end of this design is that we have this chamfer right here that houses the key graphics in the front end. And this continues then all the way down here and creates this beautiful wing that we're used to seeing from Ram, with this body panel sticks in like this and has some very nice styling to the surfaces itself. We still have the mustache design, as you can see, going up here, and we have the Ram logo hollowed out in the middle to create some additional cooling so air can actually flow through the letters themselves. And this is the key update compared to the TRX. It's going to be the brand new headlights. I don't understand why Ram did not put these headlights on the Ram Rebel for 2025. Instead, they have old Edison light bulbs in the Rebel. Such a letdown when I reviewed the Rebel as well. I wanted to see these headlights in the Rebel because these look beautiful. We have one LED up here, and then we have this nice dynamic looking LED, and these small pieces on the inside of the headlights are actually small LED strips as well. Full LED headlights, of course, just looking absolutely stunning. You can see the approach angle here. We see almost the entire front face of the tires, giving it a great approach angle. It's cut right here in this corner of the bumper, so the bumper does not stick down too far. We have a steel bumper in the lower section, fog lights down here. Now looking at the TRD Pro, this is a great refresh by Toyota. It definitely brings in this design DNA that we have now for the 4Runner and also the bigger Tundra, and this looks like a small sibling of the Tundra. If I was buying one of these, I would probably go for a lower spec, maybe the TRD Off-Road, and just spec it out the way I want it, because the TRD Pro is so expensive. That is my main concern about this vehicle, is it starts at $63,000, and the one that I was testing went all the way up to $67,000 for a Tacoma. It's just insane. We have the rigid fog lights down here. We have the lifted suspension, 1.5 inches in the front end. You have 1/2 inch lift in the rear compared to a regular Tacoma. Fantastic ground clearance. You can see that the bumper here is also cut so that we do have a great approach angle for the Tacoma TRD Pro as well. And it sits very high. We have the TRD skid plates obviously down here, something that you need to have on pretty much every single TRD Pro. New headlights, and these headlights are the ones I wanted to see on every Tacoma. We have the sequential indicator light right here, full LED headlight as well, and it says TRD Pro in this area. You can't really see it, but it's illuminated down here in the side of the headlight units. It says TRD Pro to make the headlights feel a little bit more special than any your average Tacoma. Now looking at the center portion here, look at this. We have an integrated light bar and the heritage badge in the middle here. This light bar only works when you have the high beams on, so you can't just turn it off randomly when you have going in mid-daylight or something like that. Only works when you have the high beams on. You just press the TRD light bar button that you have right next to the steering wheel, and this fires up. The overall styling, a lot of chamfers here as well, which I love to see. Chamfer here, another chamfer going around the bumper in the lower section, more chamfers right in this area. It looks like a very chiseled looking design, and I think it looks great. It looks way more modern than the old TRD, than the previous generation Tacoma, obviously. This brings it in, as I said, in line with the rest of the lineup of Toyota off-road vehicles, the 4Runner and the Tundra specifically. Now looking at the side view, this is where you can definitely see the size differences in these two. Up top we have the RHO, of course, with the massive 35-inch tires, beadlock capable wheels as well. We have the massive muscle fenders taken straight from the TRX. I like that we have a curvature to them. It creates this more automotive design. Even though it is a truck, it still has some nice fluidity to it in its lines. And we have the two-tone here, in this case this being blacked out to remove some of this volume in the lower section of the vehicle, continuing into the bumper. And you can see that both of these have this clear 3-box design that I want to see for trucks. Nothing crazy. It doesn't have anything that goes like this, like the old Avalanche, for example. This is clearly defined body on frame trucks, where you have the bed being separated from the front half here. And very easy to sketch these up. If you want to learn how to sketch trucks, all you got to do is look at one of these and you're good to go. It's very easy to have as a reference. Learn design sketching online with me. My online class is now only $47. If you have any desire to pick up the skill of sketching products using simple tools such as just a big pen and some cheap print paper, this is something you want to check out. Now, over the years, I've taught over thousands of students from all around the world how to sketch cars and products using my simple sketching techniques, and most of them have seen amazing results from my classes. Analog Designer Pro Pack is the full bundle of all my classes I've released over the years, and it's yours for just $47. You also have a lifetime access to all the videos. Check out everything that's included and see what my students have to say in the link in the description, or simply visit analogdesignerpropack.com. Now looking at the lower section, you can see the skid plates here. We have one skid plate in the front end. We have another skid plate down here. So everything in the underbody of this is indeed protected when you take this on the trails, and it just looks beautiful. I think it's a very nice looking truck proportionally, and so is the new TRD Pro. You can see here we have the 33-inch tires, tall tires, which I think looks good on this size of truck. I personally don't think that I need 35s on a size truck that the Tacoma is. I think 33s suit this truck perfectly. We have 18-inch TRD wheels. They're not beadlock capable, but it's totally fine. They don't necessarily need to be. But again, you can see the chiseledness that we have. We have this line cutting very harshly into the bodywork. But what this does, again, it reduces some of this weight in the lower section. We still have the classic, of course, 3-box design like we talked about in the Ram just now, to have these pieces being separated. We have the TRD exhaust pipes all the way down here. Great ground clearance. And I also like that this does not have this raked design that we usually see with trucks when the front end sits a little lower than the rear end. This one having the Fox shocks. You have the 1.5-inch suspension lift in the front and 0.5 inch in the rear, creating this leveled design for the stance of the TRD Pro, which I appreciate. That is something that I would do myself if I were to get any truck. The first thing I would do is just level it. Get a leveling kit and have it sit leveled from a side view, exactly like we have here. We have two-tone here as well. So the roof is blacked out on the Tacoma, looking great. The rear seat, though, this is where it gets very, very tricky, specifically if you have this isodynamic seats with its own suspension settings for the seats. The rear legroom is completely gone if you go for those type of seats. I could not fit behind my driving position at all, and it was not a very comfortable space in the back when you have those seats. You can see just how much bigger, of course, the full-size truck here is with the 1500 compared to the door, and the length of the door itself is a lot longer, of course, on the full-size truck. Now, looking at the rear end, the rear view, thankfully, Ram went ahead and implemented, of course, the LEDs. I mean, it's 2025. I think every single vehicle that's new for 2025 should have LEDs both in the front and in the rear. And you can see that we have that here. We don't have it in the Ram Rebel for 2025. Blows my mind because we had it since 2019 in the old version, but then they just skipped it for 2025. But what I love about this, we still have the, of course, organic lines that we have going on here, looking beautiful. And they come back in the rear end because look at this dip here. This is a very dynamic line that the Ram did not have to put in here. This is just for styling purposes, and then we also have this line at the lower section that goes from the tailgate into the bodywork on the side, and it almost creates a subtle chamfer in the lower section of the taillights. And then we also have the chamfers going around the taillights itself, the key chamfers, creating a nice housing for the taillight unit itself. And one thing I've always loved about Ram is they put the dual exhaust pipes symmetrically in the rear end. Now, this having the inline-6 Hurricane engine, of course, it's not going to sound as good as the TRX with a big V8 under the hood, but it still sounds decent. And I guess if you put a decent exhaust system on here, it's going to sound pretty good. And the performance for this, it's not very much, it's not lacking a lot compared to the TRX. Because keep in mind, this is still pumping out 540 horsepower. It's lighter than the TRX. The inline-6 in the front end is also lighter, which means that the handling is better. It's not going to be as front heavy as the TRX. And you still get this beefy styling with the 35-inch tires right here. Beadlock capable wheels, of course. And overall, it just looks like a modernized TRX to me. Even though, yes, I do miss the rumble. When you fire this up, you want to hear a monster under the hood just firing up. That is what you want to hear, specifically when you have a design like this. Even though the inline-6 still produces, performance-wise, is doing very well. Now, 2.5 liter inline-4 for the TRD Pro. The hybrid system, 326 horsepower, is not bad at all for this type of package. 0 to 60 for this one is about 7.1 seconds. I don't think people really care about 0 to 60 times. If they're buying a TRD Pro, that's not going to be a priority for buyers of this vehicle. But you can see that this 100% looks like a mini Tundra when you have the styling here. You have the button on the side, so you can press this button, falls down the tailgate. Something that I'm not so sure about the function itself, because when you press this button, it takes a long time for this to fold down, and you have to stand in and wait for like 3 or 4 seconds for the tailgate to fold down. I just want to have it be manual. Just grab the handle and fold it down manually. It works for me. It's not an option that I would choose if I had to pay extra for it. But you can see that we have a specific bumper, steel bumper here for the TRD Pro, looking great. We have the tow hooks here as well. A full spare tire is resting. You can't really see it here, but it's resting underneath right there. And you also have, of course, the big wheel arches there. It's gloss black, something that I would want to have in matte, but just plain matte boring black color. I would not want to have these be gloss black, because when you take this on a trail, these are the first things that's gonna get scratched up when you get branches and stuff just scratching against these very fancy looking fenders. So just keep them flat black. That's what I would want to see here. You have TRD Pro stamped in the tailgate. You can have this as an option, be the inside of these to be blacked out, so you have an even more pronounced TRD Pro lettering in the rear end. Overall, very chiseled design. We still have some muscle over the rear and front axle, as you can see, and this line coming back, as we talked about in side view. Very harsh dip here in the bodywork itself, but I think it adds some personality to this styling. Now, last but not least, these interiors. So I like both of these interiors. I do believe the Ram RHO has a 14.4 or something like that inch big screen, but as you can see, it does not feel, at least not in my opinion, I don't feel like this screen is too big for the overall interior. I think it actually suits this design to have it be this size for this size of truck. And then you can have this optional screen for the passengers, something I personally would not option for, because I think this is just redundant. Everybody in their passenger seat is they're going to be on their phones anyway, so they don't need the screen right in front of them. You can entertain themselves with an iPad, or most likely just have their phone in their hand. But the overall styling here, one of the coziest interiors I've been in this year. Everything is dark. You have this Alcantara vibe in some spaces. You have the leather-wrapped steering wheel with the paddles and the nice housing for the 12.3-inch gauge cluster. Fully customizable. I mean, really fully. You can customize the screen to do whatever you want in the gauge cluster. I love to see that. We have a massive armrest here with plenty of storage underneath. And of course, we have still, even though we do have this over 14-inch big screen, we still have the physical buttons for the fan speed and the temp controls right here as well. And you have all these auxiliary buttons down here, in addition to a bunch of USBs, wireless charging pads down here, and you have the drive modes right there as well. Beautiful looking interior by Ram. I think Ram is still on top when it comes to full-size truck interiors. That Ram is still the one I prefer, because it has the most coziest vibe when I step into a Ram. I just love it. Now, looking at the Tacoma here, they took the screen straight from the Tundra, the 14-inch infotainment screen here, looking like a big TV on the dash. I would pay extra for this to be maybe 10 inches, even 8 inches will be totally fine for me, because now it literally looks like a TV that just sits on top of the dash. It does not have a good integration for it. I think this is oversized for a Tacoma, but that's just, of course, my opinion. You have the JBL sound system. This is a Bluetooth speaker that can pop up from the dash itself and have it as a wireless Bluetooth speaker, which is pretty cool. Of course, TRD Pro coming back everywhere in the interior. Tacoma stamped out in this carbon fiber trim, looking great. And what I love about this interior is look at these beautiful dials. I mean, they are rubberized. You have some nice texture. It looks like some fake hardware pieces around it as well. They can't make these dials more solid, analog than they are right here. They're huge, super easy to grab when you're on the highway. You don't need to take your eyes off the road. And that is the main reason why I still want to have physical buttons and dials in the interior. Of course, for this fan speed as well, you have those toggles down here. Nice looking vents. Everything is just where you expect it to be. And that is what I really appreciate about this interior. The steering wheel is taken straight from other TRD products. Of course, the Tundra and the 4Runner as well. TRD down low. You have the integrated gauge cluster here inside of a deep cave. Still fully digital, which is totally fine. I don't mind that at all. So which one of these would I personally buy? To me, it's very, very simple. I mean, the TRD Pro, to me, I get it. I get why you're paying so much money for it, because it has all the tech, the features that you're ever going to need in a Tacoma. I think it's a little bit overkill for me personally. As I said, I would not buy the TRD Pro if I was going for a Tacoma. I would save some money, buy a lower spec, and then just spec it out myself to the exact stance and the exact features that I want, and I would probably still come out under $67,000 that you're paying for a brand new loaded TRD Pro. So for me, I would buy a base RHO for $69,000, and I don't even know if I would change anything to it, because I have the powertrain that I want. I have maybe a smaller screen in the interior, which is totally fine for me, and I still have 540 horsepower from the Hurricane Inline 6, and it's a full-size truck, so I can actually use the back seat, something that you cannot do in a Tacoma, specifically if you go with these ISO dynamic seats with their own suspension in the back. So for me, the choice is very simple. I would 100% go with the Ram RHO.